Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. I know that I'm a day late on my video, but we've been snowed in and I haven't opened the shop. I have been in and out a lot, but my shop parking lot is just inches and inches of snow now covered with ice. So haven't been able to get in to do a video, but I have been working on some home projects, so I thought that I would share this one with you guys. And most of you know this is what my current fireplace looked like, and we never have liked this stone at all. And I got the bright idea of painting it to see if that helped, and that was even worse. So my husband mentioned working on that while we're off. So we went off to Lowe's and started this project. So we chose this thin brick at Lowe's, and it is brick material. They use brick molds and the same kind of material, but as you can see, it's very, very thin. So it makes it very lightweight and easy to work with. So we just put that on with some of the construction glue that it calls for and left a space in between for the grout, and this is what we ended up with. Now my inspiration came from a couple of photos, and this is one. I want the shiplap on the top where I did have stone going all the way up, and this is the color of brick that I want. But I want to do it with the German Schmear. And I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it's a very, very cottagey look. And this is what it turns out like. And I just love, love, love this look. And it's what I wanted all along and wished was on it to begin with. So we just decided that we were going to tackle it. And it wasn't really hard to do, and it's kind of hard to mess up because there's all different looks of this. You can put more of the white or a lot less. So here I am back to mine, and I'm using grout for this, and I'm using a white grout. You could use thin set. I think that there's a lot of options. What I'm doing is just using some heavy duty gloves. Now, some people will put this in a grout bag and squirt it in to the joints, and that's where I'm concentrating on. But this is about the thickness of ice cream, like a soft serve ice cream, and I'm just putting some in my glove because most of you know that if there's a haphazard way to do it that will work, that's the method that I'm going to choose. So I'm just putting it mostly in the grout areas. So I just put a bunch in my hand and just kind of work it into those grout areas. Now you've got a lot of time to work with, and here he's bringing me some water with a sponge in case I need it, but you've got a lot of time, and you don't have to be perfect with this. You don't want it to be perfect, because if you are really precise with it, it doesn't look nearly as natural. So I just go through and fill in all of these joints. At this point, we've just glued those brick on, or the brick fronts on, but haven't grouted in between. So I'm just working that grout down in all those joints. Again, if you wanted to use a grout bag for this step, maybe it would be quicker, but I'm just kind of working it in there with my hands. Now, once I got all that on, then I just took a little putty knife, and I'm just using a plastic one, or some people call these scrapers. I guess you would call the plastic ones scrapers. But I'm just rubbing this across the brick. So what that's going to do is flatten out my joints and just kind of drag it across the high spots of those brick. And I just do that over the whole thing. The thing that takes the longest here, as you could see, is just going through and putting this in all the joints. And I purposely showed the whole process of this to let you see. Now, I sped this up just 2 times the speed. So as you can see, this is very, very doable. Just preparing for this, I guess, is the hardest, but they sell a construction type glue, and it's actually, I think we used a landscape construction type glue on this, and you just squirt some on the back of the brick, and then just push it straight on, and it holds. And we started from the bottom and worked our way up. And I would have showed that whole process, but I'm mainly showing you guys how to do this German Schmear, because you can do this on even brick wallboard. It's very, very easy to do, and I actually did that on my wall in the bedroom. And I'll show that later in the video when I start to decorate the mantle. But it was very easy to do as well, so you don't have to lay the brick to get this look. Now, at this point, I've let this dry for the most part. It hasn't dried overnight, but I've let it dry for a couple of hours. Now, I'm taking a damp sponge and just working my way over the brick and just rubbing off where I felt like maybe I had a little bit too much and wanted more of that brick to show through. So I did this probably 4 or 5 times. I would just let it dry, and it would start to look kind of powdery over the top of it. And I just kind of kept going back over that with a damp cloth every hour or so until I felt like I had enough of that red brick showing through. I wanted to get plenty of dimension here, and so that's how I did this. It was very, very, very simple, I think. A little bit messy, but it was very simple. And then once this dried completely, I let it dry overnight. And then I just went over it with a satin clear coat so that I could easily wipe my brick off when they needed dusting. But I didn't want much of a sheen, so I could have done a flat, but I wanted just a little bit of a sheen so that it would be easy to keep clean. And here that is complete. My husband has already added shiplap to the top of this. Now, I misspoke when I said what was the hardest part. The hardest part by far was tearing all the old faux stone off, and we had to use a crowbar and just a lot of elbow grease and a lot of mess. So that's something that I would rather not have to do again, but the rest of this was very, very easy. Now, my 3 favorite things to collect and decorate with are antique mirrors, ironstone, and old clocks. So I decided, since the mantle tends to be the focal point of your home, I feel like, that's where I wanted to use these 3. So I actually have them all over my house, but I felt like they needed to be on this mantle for sure. So I wanted 3 here. Items in 3 tend to look a little better, and so that's going to be the base and starting point of my mantle decor. Now, when it comes to ironstone, for me, it's all about the look. So I have several real old ironstone pieces, but the majority of my pieces are just the faux ironstone. And this big urn or vase is one of those pieces. I actually thrifted this one, and I don't think it's ironstone at all, but it definitely has that look. Now, I don't like matchy-matchy, so I don't want the same thing on one side that's on the other side, but I do want to create a balance on both ends. So as long as I have some larger items on both sides, it'll work. Now this little ironstone piece is ironstone, and it is old. It has some aging on it, but I wanted to boost it up a little bit, so I just used a couple of old books as risers, and now I want to work some of my small clocks in. Now, although I do want to make this pretty full, I don't want a bunch of tiny items. I want to just fill in some smaller items around the larger pieces. And I also want to balance my colors somewhat. So if I put something lighter on one side, then I want to add a little bit of that color over on the other side. So my two colors here, because this is very neutral, and all of my decor actually is very neutral, I want some kind of wood tones and some whites. So this is a clock that I did not that long ago in a video, and it's not that old, but I like the look of it, and the size is going to work perfectly with this, and also the color. So I wanted to use this in the center. And since my theme here is mirrors, clocks, and stoneware, then that's kind of appropriate to have that larger clock in the center and then work some of the smaller clocks in around. And I think a little bit of greenery always helps to bring a little bit of color into a neutral decor. And this ironstone looking pot that it's in is very old, but I don't think it's real ironstone. And this is a little riser that I made from a piece of a beam and an old rusty hinge. And so that's what I'm going to use as a riser on the other side for a little planter that I have. Actually, it's a cement planter. There's that hinge that I mentioned, and my husband suggested that I turn that around so that the hinge actually shows, and I thought that was a good suggestion. And then some of you have seen the little planters that he makes. He actually bought the concrete mold for this head vase planter, and I wanted to add that in. Now, I may add some chippy white paint to this at some point. I've just kind of aged it here, and although I do like that look, I may decide at some point to add some chippy paint. I'm kind of on the fence about that one. And here I'm adding a clock into this side. I end up changing that clock out because I felt like since my other small clocks were round, it would kind of give that a better look if that also was a round clock. So finally, we're perfectly happy with this area, and I don't think we'll ever be changing this out. But there it is before I changed that little clock, and then here's how we decorated the hearth. I did that same finish on the stone on the hearth, and then I added a bronze finish to the track that the doors were on, and then there's where I added that other little clock. So that, and my little square clock that my husband got me recently. Since that didn't work on the mantle, I added it here to the top of some old lockers, and it worked perfectly there. So I didn't mind that I wasn't able to use that on the mantle. I think this is a much better place for it. And here's another little clock that I have that my friend Gina bought me. And I know that the glass dome is missing from it, but I think it's just beautiful without it. And here are some other little clocks that I have, and that is that brick finish that we did with just the wood brick wallboard. And so you can do it the same way. You just put that, we actually used joint compound here, and then rubbed it off, and then just kept wiping it with a damp cloth also. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.